Now we're live. Okay, all right.
Oh,
We are live, and it's casual.
Yes, it's casual. Jonathan, bring us in with some music.
All right, we'll do. I feel vaguely silly doing this.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you.
you.
That
That was
good.
awesome. Good job.
Thank
I
you.
like that. I like
Thank
that
you.
too.
I liked it too.
And he sounded good tonight. From
Yes, very,
Mountain
very
Hideaway.
Oh, really? My sound was actually.
His sound. Well, until you just spoke now.
That's how it goes. That's how
Now
it
you do
always.
that thing where you speak a few.
Oh my gosh, I thought it was
You
really
feel that?
happening, and I was already going in. Don't do that to the producer and the director. You're gonna
Renee,
give me a
Rory.
fucking heart attack. Are you
Well,
serious?
the one I'm worried about is Nick. He's coming from Hong Kong, all the way from Hong Kong tonight.
That was too realistic. You with your impressions. It's
Rory
too
was channeling his
realistic.
inner Dennis.
I know, and I would give me a heart attack.
Ain't I
Now
a
we're
stinker?
live.
Ain't I a stinker dog?
I'll tell you, my hair's looking good tonight, and I have to tell you that a lot of people that I grew up with and a lot of people that know me think that I'm wearing a wig, just like Renee. I think I'm wearing a Tardan hair hat.
It's a hair hat. It's a Tardan
It is a hair hat.
I'm wearing a Tardan hair hat.
JC
And
White gave me
it's,
shit about that.
it's really my hair. It's really my hair. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you dye your hair," because I'm in my 50s. And I'm like, no, I don't dye my hair. I'm just lucky, okay? And if you look, you see a little gray on the sides and see a little gray. But no, I don't. I've never done. Well, no, I take that back. I dyed it once, black, jet black, because
Wow.
That would look good on you.
I was doing Roy Orbison on a cruise.
Oh,
Oh,
do you have
boy.
glasses?
Berlin Casino Cruise Lines. And I dyed my hair dyed. Big mistake because it starts to grow out, and you got the brown and the black together. I took my driver's license picture with the black hair. So I had to keep that driver's license picture, with this really ugly jet black, raven black hair for like 5 years until I lost it
God.
conveniently.
Lost it with air quotes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we got a double dose of comedy tonight.
Double dose of international comedy.
Yeah, and international. We got Nick Milnes, who is a pun master, improvisationalist from Hong Kong. He's not from Hong Kong. He's actually from England, but he's lived in Hong Kong for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like me, he was over there as an expat, and I'm not sure what he does in the daytime. I don't know what his day job is.
We're gonna find out. We'll find out.
We'll
The
find out.
public wants to know.
And an old friend of mine, Dean Napolitano from here in Florida, that goes way back to the old days where I was performing in Bonkers, and he's still performing in Bonkers and all kinds of clubs. We'll talk about that later.
Awesome.
So let's get Nick up here from Hong Kong. See how that
Right.
See how
Come
that
on
5G is over in China.
Woohoo!
Nick,
He's
hello.
he's drinking. He
Oh, there
didn't know
he
he
is.
was going to be on. This is candid
Caught him
camera.
in the middle of a drink.
What do
You're
I
on
do?
candid
What do
camera.
I do in the daytime? I do this. I sit on a rooftop in cloudy Hong Kong because I'm a teacher. I'm on holidays, so it's holidays.
Oh, wow.
so
Woo!
you teach English.
I'm taking a holiday from teaching English, and today I'm going to speak it.
Imagine that, an
There
expat
you go.
in South China who teaches English.
I know. But
That's
I'm
the
gonna.
only
I
job
guess.
they'll let you have over there.
Well, yeah. People ask me how I got my job, and I tell them I teach English in Hong Kong because I got what it takes up here: white skin.
So
Oh
true.
boy.
Having lived there, I can attest to that.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I've been here for several years. I have skilled up, so the
Yes,
the,
we
the
take
ethnicity
successful.
got me in the door, and then I had to live up to the.
What
Live
was
up
the
to
biggest? I want to know if you and Rory both can relate. What was the biggest culture shock to being in that part of the world? Like, what did you have to get used to?
Well,
Yeah.
so Rory was north of the border in mainland China. I'm in Hong Kong, which is, of course, China, but used to be a British colony. So when I grew up here, thank you very much, there were no culture shocks because we were running it. It was all done our way. But across the border in Shenzhen, it was all very different.
Yes.
When I went there first in like the 90s, you had to use separate money as a foreigner. You had separate
Wow.
money from the
Yes.
locals, which was like allegedly worth more, but you would get your first transaction and you would get all of these local bills in return, which you could actually use. So it was like usability versus supposed better value. But yeah, we were supposed to buy like handbags and things from the state-run goods store instead of eggs from the market, so they thought Westerners coming to China were just loaded and we'll have all of your money, thank you.
That's basically
That's
the way
going
it
way
is.
back. I mean, Rory, when did you move to Shenzhen?
I moved to Shenzhen in 2004,
Okay,
and the dollar was the yen was 8 yen to the dollar.
right. Wow.
At that time, and it just steadily went down and down and down and down, and it came back up for just a little bit, and then it went back down. It's like 6.5 now. It's terrible.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. About 7 or 8 years ago, they decided you could use the Chinese money in Hong Kong at most.
Right. Because
At
our
most
dollar, the Hong Kong dollar
jobs.
is pegged to your dollar. So, that was the British decision in the 90s. This is an economic podcast, right? This was in the 90s. Like in the 40s, following the economic deprivation of World War II.
I'm taking notes right now. I'm actually taking notes. I'm going to get a bachelor's degree in economics by the end of this. International economics.
So the
I
Hong
was
Kong
teaching
dollar.
English without a bachelor's degree. Thank you.
I was teaching this to my kindergarten kids. That's why they gave me an extended staycation. Thank you, Nick. We'll take it from here.
So you're at the beaches in North Hong Kong now?
Yeah, where are you? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, there is if anyone's ever flown into Hong Kong recently, there's a big island that the airport's at one end of it, but at the other end of it, there's very little. So I'm in this little like chalet style house. The beach is over there. There are other houses with rooftops. It's all very kind of 1960s, beachside feel. Yeah.
As opposed to houses without rooftops.
They put them on
like
top
in the
of
Philippines.
They all share one roof. Those high rises that you find elsewhere. Yeah.
So
Nick?
Okay, you say you actually grew up in Hong Kong.
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't like move there from outside. You actually grew up in Hong Kong.
Yeah. So when people ask me why I came to China, I say I didn't. I stayed still, and China came to me. And one day, come to all of you over there in the US, be careful.
So when did you start doing comedy?
So like in the 90s, late 90s, I went to UK for my education. So then started working in the UK. In the late 90s, I did a course. It's like a 10-week course. I can only remember one joke that I wrote throughout the entire course, which was in World War I, homing pigeons. Why didn't they go home? That was the only joke I can remember.
Oh boy.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe I should erase that one too, Jonathan. Oh boy, yeah.
I like it. Honestly,
It's
I
good.
like
It's
it.
good. It's
To
good.
me, that
You
killed. That
only
to
had
me was
one.
killed.
So
Sorry,
that kind of dry humor is very popular in England.
I like it.
Yes.
true. Because the weather's wet, so we like our humor dry.
And there it is again.
Yeah, but then when I moved to Hong Kong in 2004, back to Hong Kong, I should say, because I was here as a child. Then there was a guy who Rory, called Jamie Gong, who opened the Takeout Comedy Club that he actually started in New York and then like transplanted back to Hong Kong for family reasons.
Wow.
And so I started performing at his club and was a regular there for a decade. And since then, the scene has grown and burgeoned. And so, yeah, we produce our own shows now in bars around town. And so 1998 was a false start, and then with the homing pigeon joke. And then I did the precise opposite of that. And I kind of homed because this was where I lived. So maybe the joke went in. And I'm like, Nick, listen to yourself, boy. Go home, back to Hong Kong. So but things had changed.
Like Bruce Lee.
Yes, exactly.
He went to America, he went back to Hong Kong and became famous.
I didn't have to crawl across the floor of the funeral home because I had missed my father's internment. That's apparently what Bruce did. Following Chinese filial tradition, he had to crawl across the floor of the funeral home, wailing.
Wow.
Not like wailing on someone, like wailing or shooting large aquatic mammal. I mean, whaling.
Oh,
that's.
So I was going to ask you, what's the scene like in comedy there in South China now?
Well, like we haven't had any visiting comics, for 2 years. So we've had to kind of it's been a bit Mosquito Coast. We've had to make our own gags, like the Victorians. We make our own entertainment. So yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of homegrown, talent here. A lot of jokes about teaching English.
Yeah, yeah.
But that means all of us have a good facility with the language. So,
but actually, there were a lot of good comics when I left doing comedy. A lot of expats, a lot of Asians that were, doing great comedy. They were doing some really good stuff.
Oh, that's actually been really noticeable in the decade plus that I've been back. When I started in 2007 back in Hong Kong, it was mainly expats, largely Caucasian, Americans, Brits, and that was the audience too. And what's changed is there's been a lot of like second generation kids born in the US who've come, I guess, back to their ancestral home, really tearing it up. So we have a lot more Asian comics now. And it's that's good, right? And that's brought more local people in as an audience as well. So yeah, it's that's definitely something that's changed, and you've seen it too, right, Rory? And
well, that was I think I need to explain that they're the expat community, the people that are not from China that are doing comedy. That's a whole different thing. We have what's called reverse Chinatowns. They're foreign towns. And these are the places that have clubs, the nightclubs that have comedy nights, and they usually get English-speaking comics to do the shows. And there are comedy clubs in Hong Kong and in China where they have Asian comics doing in Chinese and in Cantonese, but the I won't say Caucasian, but the expat comedy nights seem to be doing well, or they did when I was there. I remember, we had a really good crew of guys. Dwight Wozich comes to mind, Chris Jessup, just a lot of good talent, a lot of fun guys to work with. So there's actually different clubs.
Uh-oh. It's just you and I.
Did we lose him?
Renee and where is Nick?
Yeah, we lost him. Yeah, I don't know where he went, but
Oh
He'll come back. I have every confidence that he'll come back. Here he comes.
Okay.
Here he is.
And
See, here he
How
goes.
we gonna?
There he is.
We were just saying how nice that 5G was over there.
We missed you. We missed you. You're
We had a
back.
little
I wanted
I'm
to
back.
ask you know, having like someone like me, I've never been to China. So Rory and Nick, it's like imagining doing stand-up comedy in China. What are the differences? What's unique about it? What did you like about it? What do you miss about it when you don't do it in China? I have so many questions about it. I can't even imagine going to China. And like, isn't humor different? Isn't the culture different? Obviously the language. Help me understand how you work through that.
Well, so there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of different crowds, right? And like every, you play the crowd as it's dealt. But sometimes you do get the impression, okay, I got to really keep it simple here. That does occur. Now I'm getting an echo. I'm sorry, but is that affecting the broadcast, or can I just push on?
I don't know where it's coming from.
It
Is anyone else?
Usually it'll when you first start the broadcast,
Mhm.
you'll get that little echo for a few seconds, and then it'll kind of normalize.
Yeah, we don't hear it here. If the fans could tell us in the audience if you hear an echo, I don't hear it. So fans, let us know. They will let us know. They will let us know. So just keep talking.
This is, of course, something that I'm used to from a show, because often you'll get people of differing English ability. So you'll be talking. You'll also have someone in the front row translating your text or your gags into Chinese. How well one can't be responsible for. Yeah, so you'll often have like simultaneous translation going on in the audience, which is an experience one gets used to. But then you can sort of judge ahead of time, whether you're going to be able to get a bit more, deep or thought-provoking, or which kinds of politics you want to allude to, whether you're going to talk about back home. If it's a room full of Brits at the British Club in Singapore, you can do, I can do stuff about Margaret Thatcher, But
you don't want to talk about the Chinese government.
Well, no, you never want to talk about the Chinese government, but we can slag off our own figures. That's the other thing. If you make fun of Britain, or you make fun of the US, the audience will be like, yep, that pretty much checks out. We, concur with your assessment of your ridiculous leadership. But,
like that.
Also, though, seriously, on that topic, though, I mean, you can poke fun. Well, you could poke fun. Hong Kong was a bit more free than the rest of China. But, as you may be aware, since Joe Biden has been allowing Hong Kongers to stay, there's been a big crackdown, in Hong Kong. It's coming much more into line with the mainland way of doing things. So who knows what the future holds. But you make fun of the current of the situation you're in, of Hong Kong, things going on. Like I had a joke about the only cocktails you can get on the streets of Hong Kong are Molotov cocktails. Police will make you a Bloody Mary if your name is Mary. So I got away with those for the longest time, but who knows whether that's going to change.
And there were stutters in your video when you said that. So they're watching.
I mean, I don't think they were for a long time, and this was the case in Shenzhen as well. I think that the Chinese authorities didn't really seem to care as long as it was being done in English, because anything that you said was accessible for people who would have a VPN anyway. But they were worried about things filtering down to the local population and kind of changing their minds about things. But then I know the experience in Shanghai was that the Kung Fu comedy guys got the hell out of Dodge because they were told they'd have to submit their scripts ahead of time, which doesn't work, as we are aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they shut up shop and moved to Hong Kong. So yeah, maybe that's the way things are going in Hong Kong too.
That was the first thing that I did back in comedy after 12 years. I hadn't done comedy in 12 years. Who's the guy that ran the Panda?
Originally it was Turner Sparks.
No, that wasn't who it was.
And then Andy Curtin took over, I guess. Andy Curtin. Okay.
That's not striking a bell, but anyway.
Maybe this goes back before my time.
Kung Fu Panda was, or not Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu comedy.
Kung Fu comedy.
Yeah, all the Ks.
yeah, had me do a gig in Shako,
Right.
which is right on the edge of Shenzhen there,
Yeah.
over the water from Macau. And that's what got me back into comedy. And then I started doing the open mic nights again over there. And
Yeah.
and the one joke that I never told on stage, but I would, snicker with the other comics about backstage was, that the current administration is a lot tougher. They're really cracking down on laws and stuff. And the guys before him, Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, those guys were kind of like, you know what, if you're happy, we're cool. And, we'll look the other way. And they let a lot of people get away with a lot of stuff. So my joke was, everything was fine until she came along. So
yeah, that's what she said.
But if I ever did that one on stage, woo! I was always worried.
Well, what's the Charles Aznavour? She must be the one that I adore. I don't know the rest, but if you spell it, she, I.
When I worked with you, you were doing improvisation. You were what impressed me. There was two guys that did comedy open mics in South China that really impressed me. You were one of them, and the other guy was a Brit too. His name was Brian. I can't remember his last name, but you would always do new material when you would come up. And that inspired me to start doing the characters on stage and doing a different character each night, doing new material each night. So, and when I would do like General Howitzer or some other character, and you were there, you would throw in some really great puns. And you're very fast, you're very quick-witted, and so you're a very good improvisationalist. I remember that. Which do you prefer? I mean, which is your preference? I mean, do you prefer doing improv with a group, or do you prefer just doing stand-up on your own? Do you prefer doing the puns as opposed to one-liners and punchlines?
I would like to one-liners often revolve around puns. So yeah, I mean, I would love to be you kindly, build me as the pun master, but there are a lot of real masters out there, and in order to fill a set with one-liners, puns, or otherwise, I feel the hardest job. So I aspire to that job, but I'm often out of ammunition. So improv is, say again.
So humble.
Well, I mean, it's not. I mean, my hair is also graying. I'm pushing 50. So I feel like, it's that kind of quick fire is very grating and demanding. I'll often just revert to. I feel like in a set, I've always sort of slightly. If I go back to my old material of being an English teacher, blah blah blah. Oh, funny things kids say. I always feel like, okay, you've taken a misstep there, Nick. You should have spent more time on your new material, because I love writing, and what I'm not really so good at is spending the time to commit the new stuff to memory, and so I love writing, but improv, obviously, you can just come up with things off the cuff. So performance-wise, I love improv. Because you just use whatever's in there, whatever's in the tank, but I love writing new gags, and so
awesome.
Gag, yeah.
Are you secretly, and this is coming from me checking out your Facebook feed, your Facebook page? Are you secretly Captain Brexit?
Right, Captain Brexit. I mean, Captain Britain had to rebrand. It was actually a legal copyright avoidance issue why I became Captain Brexit. But the suit was actually Captain Britain's suit that I ordered. I think it was licensed because Britain, as we call him in Britain, well, we just call him Cap. Captain Britain is a real Marvel superhero. I don't know if you guys know this. Tangentially allied to the Marvel comic universe.
Like Captain America, you have a Captain Britain, and that is part of the Marvel universe.
Captain Britain, who apparently roomed with Peter Parker at the Empire State University. Like, that's how tangential, the Venn diagram just overlaps. And then, I guess, but in Britain, we had these books, these comic books about Captain Britain, because it was like, well, they've got Captain America. Where's our Captain?
But they're Marvel comics.
I did bring him to life on stage, initially as Captain Britain, And then when Brexit sort of occurred or began to be talked of, I thought, oh, let's call him Captain Brexit and let's, make him even more irrelevant, given that that's what Brexit strove to do, to our island nation, is make us even more irrelevant in the modern world. So,
well, and I guess Disney owns him now. I
guess so. So maybe there's, maybe he, eradicated one of Mickey Mouse's cousins, once with a trap. That would be about as tangential as the Spider-Man thing. Yeah. Or actually,
Disney owns everything now. They own everything.
If it was Captain Hong Kong, obviously he ate one of Donald's relatives, in a pancake.
Well, so for our audience, could you, that might not know, could you explain Brexit to us so that we understand it?
Okay, so Britain was actually quite well placed within the European Union, which grew throughout the 50s and 60s and 70s, and the rest you can count.
Right.
So, as the European nations clumped together and then Eastern Europe opened up and then they all joined, it was great because we were the English-speaking country of choice for American business, for Asian business. Everybody learns English. And that was brilliant to be the gateway into Europe. And then a bunch of politicians on the towards the right wing of, David Cameron, who was our prime minister, the one who looks like Woody from Toy Story, but minus the cowboy hat. He decided there were people in his party to the right
There's
of him
a snake in my boot.
Yeah, true. That they should leave. There's a snake in my cabinet. He thought that they should leave. People in his cabinet to the right of him thought Britain should leave. So he's like, I'll bloody well show you. We'll do a vote and everyone will vote to stay in. But British people mistakenly thought that the question they were being asked is Britain the best country in the world? Rather than should we leave the EU? So they all said yes. We left the EU, and we're now decidedly not the greatest country. Even in Europe, we're pretty much the laughingstocks because, as you've said, it was all going to be a wonderful idea to leave, and everything was going to be rosy. You said that in the green room before the show.
Right.
Was the common sort of understanding.
I asked you if it was okay to talk about this.
Well, you didn't. How long I got? It's not particularly funny.
You got a few minutes.
But so we Brexited because, and having taken the vote, it backfired on Cameron, but he's still an idiot. That's no excuse. That's no excuse. He'd won the Scottish vote, where he asked Scottish people a few years before, "Do you want to stay in the United Kingdom?" And they said, "Yes, please," not realizing that the United Kingdom was going to be coming out of Europe in 2 years' time. So he, buoyed by the success of the Scottish referendum, he then decided, "Oh, I'll just play that trick again, and everyone will support me," which they didn't. Because British people are living in the past and think that Britannia still somehow rules the waves.
So it seemed like a good idea at the time, and now it's like, oh, this is not working out the way we wanted it to.
It seemed like a good idea to a lot of people at the time because they were lied to by none other than Boris Johnson about how it would all be fantastic. It's going to be a Titanic success, he said, which as a metaphor in itself is kind of faulty if you think about it.
Sounds like somebody else I know. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. You see.
Yeah. So Boris was one of the key agitators for Brexit, and then look what he got out of it. He got the top job. So
there you go. So it worked out for him.
It worked out for him. It worked out for the people who wanted to leave EU. Like Tories, conservatives who had business interests that they could move quite easily to Ireland, which has become the new English-speaking gateway to Europe. So well done, Britain. Well played.
Okay, well, I think we got a great lesson there, and I appreciate you going with me on that one.
Okay.
The press in Hong Kong about the UK and about America, what's it like over there? I mean, what is it like being on the outside looking in? Well,
I mean, Hong Kong's very actually focused on its own kind of situation at the moment. The frog in the pot.
Right.
But I mean, the Olympics has been occupying everybody's mind. And that's obviously, can I segue into talk about the Olympics just to the degree that, we've scored 4 medals. By that, I mean Hong Kong. We've got 4 medals, and every medal, particularly the one that every medal has been kind of wildly applauded here. People are very happy about that.
Of course.
It's just a sort of, seems, well, I mean, yeah, as they are everywhere, of course. But that seems to be the only bit of good news coming into Hong Kong at the moment.
We got a gold medal.
Yeah. Or, well, even a bronze medal. We got excited about the bronze.
There you go.
Yeah. We get excited about a medal, period.
So is it Hong Kong for life?
For me?
Yeah. Or do you think you might venture out somewhere else?
As soon as this damn...
someday.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as this pandemic is over, I could start to think about going down south. My family live in New Zealand. They left UK. My brother is a very forward-thinking chap, saw the writing on the wall and moved to New Zealand, who didn't ban our flag as Hong Kong did. They just shrank it to 1/4 the size of their flag, like a YouTube window. They're still kind of watching, but do have other stuff. So yes,
the way the flag looks. Yes.
So that would be a way to continue, in a quasi-British sense. It's quasi-British down there.
Beautiful country down there. Beautiful country. And if you want to watch the Hobbit films.
Yeah, exactly. Watch the Hobbit films. I'll feel like a giant. It'll be brilliant.
There you go. Well, we're going to bring Dean Napolitano up in just a second, but you're welcome to stay for the rest of the broadcast and comment as we go. We're so great we had you on the show, and your signal was so good for the most part. So, all right.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me, guys. I've enjoyed it. I'll move up the couch.
He's moving down the couch. All right, let's bring Dean Napolitano from Florida on. There he is.
Hey.
Hey, sir. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you, my friend.
I got to up my background game. It's not like Nick's. This is a bookcase with some old game.
Well, you do have the Tardan Media logo in your corner, so it looks like it's on your back wall there.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, I see it.
So you got that going for you.
How does that? Did I do that? See, half the time I'm like my dad on this phone. I don't know what the hell I'm pressing, what I'm pushing. I'll keep.
That's going to take me to a question that I had later in my interview, but I was going on Instagram looking for you, and I found this great tribute to your dad. That's all dad pictures.
Oh yeah. He used to have his own Instagram.
Yeah, man. So what it's called Pop
Shots.
Pop Shots. That's it. Pop Shots.
Yeah,
wonderful. They're just regular, everyday photos of just your dad doing regular stuff, and it was really cool. I just really like that. That was so cool, so neat. Bonkers, Comedy Zone, Grouchos, Laugh-Ins. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I do a lot of comedy. Travel a lot, since the pandemic and everything. It's been obviously different, but it's getting better now. But people are out. They want to laugh, man. People really want to laugh.
Well, I know that today, in this time during the pandemic, they were opening things back up again. And people, like you said, people were just going out in throngs to the comedy clubs and stuff. They just, they wanted to get out there, like you say, and get a laugh. After being cooped up for a year. But during the pandemic, you worked a lot.
Yeah, I did. We had outdoor shows here but before a lot of other states, like in May, I want to say April, March. It's probably April, May, after they did the first 30 days. But then when they did 50% in, I took the gigs, I wasn't making any money. And unfortunately, when you do comedy and, I'm incorporated, all my money is 1099. So you don't really get any unemployment. Just the way it is.
I applied for employment in Florida. Somebody's clicking. Somebody is on a computer typing.
Not me.
Show your hands, guys.
Hand check.
Okay, it's one of the guys switching the show.
No, it's just some kind of a crackling that's in the background, and it's on Dean's side, but it's not anyone typing. So Like if I mute him, then we miss it. But I don't know.
No,
It's definitely nobody.
we'll just suffer through it if that's the case. Okay.
On my
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, I don't know, but your connection looks really good. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me try to put Nick and me down. Nick, you and I are going to go in the background for a minute. We'll just see.
Great.
If that helps the situation. No, I still hear it. But
Yeah, there it is.
it's okay.
It
So,
sounds like we're doing, radio in the Army. It's not a big deal.
There you go. Do a little Morse code along with it. That works. Tell us about your streaming special, The Burt Drive Boys.
Yeah, the Bar Drive Boys is a one-man show that I put together when I lived in Hollywood in the early 2000s, and I never got a chance to put it up out there. So that was the one thing I finished during the pandemic. I actually, made myself 20 years later sit down, write it, have it all out, and I put it up last November for the first time in a theater live, and we taped it. We did a 4-camera shoot, and it's about my childhood growing up on Bar Drive on Selden, Long Island, and all the stuff we did in the 70s, basically growing up in a big Italian family with my dad and learning how to gamble at 5 years old, scratch off tickets, the horse track. Your typical Italian story. But,
Long Island.
Yeah, Long Island. I was the youngest of 8 kids and 5 older brothers. So it was just a lot of boys, and on our street, it was Bar Drive, and it was all boys just playing all day, riding bikes, jumping ramps, causing trouble. But I wrote a really good, really proud of it. And we're going to put it up again once theater people start getting back in clubs, because it's not a club show. It's more of like even a fringe festival or like a theater type show.
It's more drama.
Yeah, well, there's drama in it. There's a lot of comedy, but I talk about things like, I grew up Catholic, and I never made my first confession in order to make my first communion. When you make your communion, you got to make your first confession with a priest. Mm-hmm. And I pretended to be sick because I didn't want to go in that booth because I was like weirded out by it. And then they asked me if I did the makeup, the makeup session, and I lied and said I did. And then I went and made my first communion because in our families, that's where you got all the money.
That's your next confession.
I never, to this day, have gone in a booth and made confession. And I went on to make my, communion, confirmation, everything.
It's just going to be a longer visit to that booth if you keep this going.
My whole,
you'll be terrified.
My whole religion is a big lie.
Is it claustrophobia?
I don't know. When I was younger, I was just didn't like going in that dark room in a booth, and they close the door, and then he opens the window, and the priest just sits there, and I'm like, what am I confessing? I think I might have stole a pack of gum back in the day, but that was because one of my brothers probably made me take this, put this in your pocket. But yeah,
all the stories.
The Catholics, it's
the
very a lot of guilt.
Yes, that's what the Catholic faith is all about. That and smacking your hand with a ruler.
Exactly. And I do a whole recount of what it felt like walking down the aisle to get my first communion, feeling like all the mothers were talking about me, So we had like a voiceover, like, that boy is the devil, and I could hear it. I'm looking around, like in the church, gonna get struck by lightning. So it's really like stories like that for the Bar Drive Boys, all the way through. My dad with the horses, us being left in the car for hours at a time,
Oh, man. Wasn't that a Cat Ballou song? He fights like the devil.
Yeah, that's right, Cat Ballou.
He must be the devil.
That's so funny. Somebody wrote my first confession. What is this? Somebody wrote something here.
Well, I hope that we can catch that.
My first confession was that I stole a Snickers bar from my sister.
Well, wait, let me open the door.
That's great.
Okay, this is your confession. What would you like to tell us?
I took a Snickers bar. I mean, this is what you have to do, and how much guilt. And then when my daughter,
suddenly I'm Bill Murray as your priest.
Yeah. That's
so, what's your confession?
She got a Snickers bar.
Confession
So
time.
true, man.
33 acting credits on IMDb. I went to IMDb to see what you've done. You've been busy there too.
Yeah.
Most recently, 999.
Yeah, 999.
That was a Netflix.
Yep.
And Sam and Elvis and Cult Cartel
Yeah, Cold Cartel was an
as
indie
Ben
film.
Johnson,
Yeah, Ben Johnson.
who was a
Don't I look
cowboy
like
star.
Ben Johnson?
You got to play Ben Johnson, the cowboy star? No.
Yeah, no, the 999 was actually going to be it was released in the theaters, but of course it came out against Deadpool, and Deadpool destroyed it.
Well,
And Gal Gadot was in there, Wonder Woman. It was like before she was Wonder Woman, and Woody Harrelson, and all these big stars. And I thought that movie was going to be. I thought the residuals were going to be nice. You know, they weren't nice.
not yet.
No, it's done. I'm getting checks for like $60 now. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what I'm getting for writing Deadly Species back in 2002.
Deadly
you know,
Species,
every now and again
yeah.
I'll get a check and go, oh, they're still paying me for that.
That's
Oh,
great.
hey, I can go out to McDonald's. You actually went out to Hollywood to make it as a star for a while. Is it exactly like they say? I mean, is it just really weird and crazy out there, and it's hard to get any traction? And
You know, I was fortunate. I signed with Tim Allen's manager. That's why I moved out.
Yeah.
Steve Baker. So I had a leg up. I was getting the big meetings once I got there, and I had acting credits ready when I went. I had comedy, and I went into the Montreal Comedy Festival that year in 2001. And I was getting a lot. I was doing a lot. But when you're out there, when you're new, everybody wants to meet you. After 4 or 5 years, if you haven't hit, they kind of go, "I got what else we got? Who's next?"
what have you done lately?
Yeah, it's really that. And, and I booked a bunch of stuff, commercials, TV shows. And then about 10 years in, I started to get another bump. Like I was getting some heat again. Okay. But I ended up, that was in 2009 with the recession and family issues. I ended up moving back to Florida. My kids were young. And it was one of them things where, you just kind of, I pitched the show to CBS, sitcom. So you know how hard that's to get that. And it was definitely a journey, but it's seedy, man. There were times where I'd go over the hill into Hollywood and come down Laurel Canyon. And I'd be like, man, the devil lives down here because it's dark. You look down at.
He's not in Vegas. He's right here.
He is, man. You think about Hollywood. It's like, oh, it's where dreams are made, right? Well, it's really where most dreams go, and it's sad to say, are not made. Dreams die. Yeah. Right. Because the majority of the people go out with all this passion and it gets crushed.
Yeah. I mean, they say that what we see in the movies and on TV is like the top 2%.
It's really bad. And you see the life get sucked out of people. You see the energy, like you'd have to leave LA just to kind of recharge. Like every time I left and came back, I was like a new guy.
Understood. I visit out there. I've got a cousin who's an artist out there. His name's Cliff Bailey, and he's doing very well for himself. So I go out there every now and again, and I love to visit. I love to go and visit. It's a beautiful place. Beautiful. I mean, I go to the crazy places like the Staircase where they did the piano with Oliver Hardy.
The old
and the Bat Cave. Out in the park there.
Yeah.
You can go to where the Bat Cave was, and that stuff is cool. I mean, I like that stuff. So
it's very cool, and they have like the old ranches, and there's a place called the Vasquez Rocks that's kind of up north where I was kind of living up in Santa Clarita, and that's where they filmed all the old westerns. They filmed. Do you remember that Star Trek episode with William Shatner with that lizard guy?
The Gorn.
That's
Gorn.
Yeah, that's filmed there. And then you go and you see.
I'm going to find you, Kirk.
That's it. When you
it's where they did the Bill and Ted. I know exactly the rock you're talking about because they did the Bill and Ted scene there too as well.
Yeah, so
they died.
Yeah, and when you see it, you're like, man, a lot of stuff was done here. My kids and I used to hike up there, and
it's iconic.
It's pretty cool, man. It's a beautiful state. I mean, the sequoias. We drove up to wine country. I mean, I loved it. But
my daughter wants to see the giant sequoias.
Yeah, my kid went without me.
How far up California do you got to go to see those?
I want to say that's at least from where I was about 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
Because I mean, I went up to big.
So maybe flying to Sacramento.
Yeah, you might as well fly to Sacramento and drive.
Yeah, she's a big fan of Japanese anime, and her favorite show is a thing called Attack on Titans, which has giants and they eat people, but they have these giant trees.
Yeah,
in the anime. So she says, "I want to see the giant trees. I want to see the giant sequoias." She found them on the internet, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll do that this year."
Yeah, my kid said it was amazing. My wife was out there when I was married,
You
and
can actually drive through them.
yeah, I mean, they're huge, man. And when you see them, I waited to see it, and then I had a gig in Vegas, and they went without me with her mother. I was pissed, so I haven't seen them.
Here's
yet.
the pictures, Dad.
Yeah, we went to the Sequoias. I said I've been waiting 10 years for that.
My daughter was upset with me when I went to Rushmore without her.
Oh, I've always wanted to see
That's something else we want to do, and together. And I want to do it when it's cold. And when I went and saw it, it was winter, and there was snow up to my knees.
Oh man,
there, yeah. But my jacket was open. I had a sweater on underneath. My jacket was open. It was like, 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, midday, and it just felt. I mean, it wasn't cold.
Really?
It just nice. And again, snow up to my knees.
Yeah, that's crazy. My daughter just went there, and she said it was awesome. I've never been.
So she wants to do that when it's cold, like I did. She's never seen snow.
So. Really?
Yeah. So.
Nothing. Does snow in China? They get a lot of snow.
Well, they up north, but again, Shenzhen is like Florida. You don't get any snow down there. You don't get any snow in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. So that's where we were. So, and I kept telling my wife, she wants to see snow. We should go up to Beijing, or we should no, we're not going to go. It's too cold. Yeah. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you pretty much know what you got to do.
We'll do it. We'll do it this year.
Sure.
So how long have you been entertaining?
Does it turn the presidents into snowmen? Somebody just wrote.
Yeah, I can't see.
I'm getting old though.
I got a bad eye, so I can't see it.
We're both like this. What the hell's it say? What did that girl write?
Okay, now we got another one.
Does it turn the presidents into snowmen? Yeah. Who knows? Gotta check it out. But
good question. Wish I'd have thought of that one. So how long have you been doing the entertainment? How long have you been doing it?
I think about that. I started when I was 20. I started stand-up comedy at 21, acting at 20. So 30, I'm going to be 52. So 31 years, man. And it's I've done.
God, I got 5 years on you. Please,
yeah.
Come on, don't tell me that.
It's nice to see when people are in it longer than me, because sometimes I feel like, geez, I've been in it that long. But you set out with goals in the business. I've pretty much done everything I wanted to do except make the big money. I mean, that's, I've done movies, I've done television shows, sitcoms, pilots. I've done, written my own stuff. I put up my own one-man show now. Been on, and you go through your checklist like any career. But, like we all know with stand-up comedy, there's no guarantee of that. There's no retirement. There's, you got to save, you got to do everything right, which is usually not the comic story.
Yeah. Understood.
But, you just try. Like, I've been in the Screen Actors Guild my daughter's 27, so I got in when she was born. So I've been in that union for a while. Got a tiny pension. I mean, I could live on $350 a month when I retire from acting.
Well, it's the same in China. China has no Social Security,
right?
So they all know, hey, you better save for your retirement. Yeah. And again, the kids have to take care of the parents. And what was funny was that I taught English there, and I was teaching older people. Sometimes I taught kids, sometimes I taught older people. When I was teaching older, and there's Nick again. He'll vouch for me on this. You tell them that you can put your mom or your dad or your grandpa or your grandma in a nursing home. They were like, "You can do that?" Because they don't do that in China.
No, different culture.
Yeah,
that's like bad, right there.
Well, they just don't have them. It's like, okay, in Hong Kong, I think they have.
They do have them here. They do have
some there. And it's just like pawn shops. They don't have any pawn shops in China because in the culture, you don't buy anybody else's stuff.
Is that right?
Period. They will not take anything that's been used by another person unless they're poor and somebody has handed it down to them from their family. That's it. Really? But there are no pawn shops in China. They do have them in Hong Kong, I think.
Yeah.
Wow, that's.
Yeah, Hong Kong is like being slowly, China-fied. Well, more and more rapidly now. But yeah, we have all this. They say this is why they kept Hong Kong kind of separate, why the Chinese never invaded and let the Brits keep on their colonial dreams, is because it helped. They could do, I don't know whether they were coming down and pawning their stuff, but they could get all kinds of Western medicine. It was right on their doorstep, it kind of allowing Hong Kong to be a little Western portal.
Right.
So there are still lots of things here in Hong Kong that you can do that weren't outright banned like they were in mainland China, including
Including what?
well, until very recently criticizing the government. But that's now also not allowed.
Right.
You guys
They can't do that now either.
I would not do that.
Here's another crazy example. There is a myth, a story about wearing a green hat. If a man wears a green hat, it means his wife is cheating on him. It's a symbol, sign that he thinks his wife is cheating on him. So they do not sell green hats in China or Hong Kong that I know of. And that one sticks in Hong Kong as well. They won't do it.
Yeah,
that's
no Chinese man will ever join the Green Berets.
And there's no Jet fans because I'm a Jets fan, so that wouldn't work.
Right. Yeah, no, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's just that expression, wearing a green hat, is the same as our, cornuto ultimato.
And there's another thing. At funerals, they wear white instead of black. And at weddings, it's very it's very, very customary for the bride to wear a red wedding gown. Whereas if somebody wears a red wedding gown in a church here,
what's up with these white clothes at funerals? That's
that's I'm sure complicated. That's too angelic though. You see all these white outfits at a funeral. It's like, geez, are we in heaven?
I guess that's it. I mean, they don't understand that we would wear black, at the wedding. So black suit here is, or black here. I said here. Can you believe that? Freudian slip. A black suit in China. There,
ninjas.
A black suit is like an everyday thing. You got to have your black suit.
Well, funerals too, in general. Well, a lot of them they call it all now. It's celebration of life. They made it very positive. But I mean, but you go back up to a funeral in New York or the Northeast, it's a very somber event. I mean, obviously funerals are sad.
Yes.
But they put the twist on it now of celebrating someone's life and doing all that stuff. That's kind of how we did my mom's. But I remember going to one in New York, and it was the dark suits. You go right to the grave. It's very dark. Then you go to a pub where you go past the house with the casket. It's like, good God, this is like the morning. It's like, so maybe they got a point with the white outfits, make it more cheery.
It does look cheery, and they have hats as well sometimes, like paper hats, and a little reedy instrument that goes.
And again, they have the woman in white too, which is one of their ghosts. This is like they're terrified, of a woman wearing just a white dress.
And then they also at the funeral
in some cases. Yeah,
what?
woman in white.
Oh,
if you watch the very first episode of the TV show Supernatural, they talk about the woman in white.
Oh man. The next funeral I go to, I'm wearing a white suit and a green hat. Unless
Better yet, go to a Chinese funeral like that.
That's what I'm saying.
And then you very significantly take off the green hat, because it's like, well, it was that guy, right?
Well, it's over now.
So funny.
And that brings to mind the Irish wakes, which are crazy. Drinking and drinking on the casket. I might be misinformed, but that's what I was told.
Man, it's
just a raucous affair.
There's always a flask. Someone's always got the whiskey out by the cars. You have a couple takes. You take a couple hits back, and you go in there, and you're like, oh God, this is going to be a long one.
Let's toast to him.
Yeah,
let's toast to the boy.
Roll out.
He would have loved this.
It's definitely, I don't know. Just the celebration of life. I've been to a couple of those. It's kind of a positive thing, It's talking about someone's life, but I don't know.
They always talk you up at your funeral, right? You're supposed to talk someone up at your funeral. So, like, how do you know if you really were a nice guy? Like, how much more effusive? I guess you read between the lines, assuming you're party to the speech at all. But
yeah, we've all been to those, whoever they are, where you're like, this guy was a complete asshole. Why is everybody? Right? But nobody's gonna say it.
Oh,
It's like
man.
Inspector Dreyfus in the Clouseau movies when he thought Clouseau was dead. You know,
Oh,
he was laughing in his hand. He was a marksman. Crack shot.
those were great.
Oh,
Oh, he was
man.
giving the eulogy, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was loving every minute of it. Yeah.
those
a
are
local
classic.
policeman. They thought he was crying. It was great.
Julio
We're
Morales
supposed to be
asked,
laughing, and we're talking about funerals.
All right, well, you say, I don't know about you guys, but every funeral I've been to has been so sad. And then at one point, me and my brothers, we just laugh about something. And it takes that off, It takes
Yeah.
that heaviness.
Yep.
I think everybody's experienced that. And then you
Good way
get the
to
one
do it.
person, they whip their head around, like look at you like you just stabbed someone. You're like, oh, just relax. All right, I'm hurting too, Nana. Okay, that's how I deal with it.
Anna. So what I lost my train of thought here. Besides the phenomenal money.
Besides what?
Besides the phenomenal money in comedy, what is your big takeaway? And I'm going to ask this of both of you. What is your big takeaway?
With comedy?
Yeah.
I think in entertainment, what I love, the reason I still love it after 30 years is I love making a room full of people laugh. I'm not a political comic or a religious comic. I do a lot of stuff about family, growing up, commonality.
Mhm.
And when you see a room full of people from every, race, religion, or gay, straight, whatever, and they're all laughing at the same stuff, and then someone comes up to you and at the end of the show, and they're like, hey, I just had someone pass away. I haven't laughed in a year. And, just seeing, that's my takeaway, is that we all want to laugh, and we all just take stuff too serious today. I just remember when we were kids, it just seemed like people were happier with less things. We have so much abundance now, and we forget to just get together and laugh at shit. That's what I think. And
Well, like you say, because of the pandemic, people want to laugh more than ever now.
yeah,
But from what you just said, your takeaway is that you feel like you've done a good job. You've done
I
something
do.
nice for that audience, something good for that.
I feel like when you get people laughing, and if you touch them on a subject or whatever, and you're healing them, you're healing yourself at the same time. Like comedy got me through my mom being sick, and my, dealing with other stuff.
Yep.
And for me too, it's therapy, and laughter, it's proven laughter heals you, and you live a longer life and a happier life. I mean, of course, there's a bunch of comics offering themselves from time to time, but it's,
I just endorse what Dean said. What he said. What he said.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Ditto.
I don't think you
it
do
does
it.
feel great to make a whole room laugh, to get a whole room behind what you're doing. Whereas it's terrible when you get a crowd that's just not with you, or maybe you're off for some reason, and your timing or something is off, and you don't feel like you connected with them. But and I think I told you the story, Dean, about the one night when Tom Rhodes came into Bonkers in Orlando.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And there was a big biker crowd there.
No.
And he was, Tom Rhodes is one of the coolest comics out there. But for some reason that night, he was coming across like he was kind of like Pauly Shore. And it just wasn't Tom Rhodes. It wasn't what I remembered him to be. And the crowd, they were just like, fag! They just weren't into it at all. And he was doing a guest set, and he went a little long, and he just never connected with him. Again, we've all had those nights at least once in our life, and it's not a good feeling, but it happens sometimes. You just don't connect with a crowd.
It's the
but it feels great, like you say. It just feels like you're over the moon when you do connect, and they're all laughing with your stuff. Yeah, agreed.
I agree with that 100%. I think when you have it, and you have those nights where everything you say is just you're on, and you're just connecting, and it's an energy that you can't explain to people. I mean, I've never done hard drugs. I've drank in my life. I never really was a drug guy. A lot of comics back in the day would buy drugs and get high and stuff. But that's how I attested to that feeling of comedy. It's like a high. It's a roller coaster of emotion.
It's like Yahtzee.
But I think he doesn't
I
have
saw
that
the
one.
Yahtzee on the back of your shelf.
Oh, he does have that one. All of my
Hey,
answers.
I got Operation. Check this out. I don't know how this Operation Yahtzee Sequence, and over here, Cards Against Humanity. So I include everything.
Oh, I love Cards
You
Against
got it
Humanity.
covered.
That's
You
hilarious.
got it covered.
I
So
think
where are
when
you going to be in the
you
near
know,
future?
This week I'm doing a show in Port St. Lucie, and then I'm all over Florida pretty much for the rest of the month. I'm going to be hopefully
This weekend you're in Port St. Lucie. Is that Groucho's?
it's one of his. Yeah, he's got like a bunch of different rooms again. Larry Silver at Groucho's is he's starting to get
Okay.
a lot of like
Very good.
one-nighters, So it's nice. You pick up all these one-nighters, and then you piece together your 3 or 4 day weeks. But a lot of the clubs outside of Florida are just doing Friday, Saturday, and they use local guys. Because everybody's opening up fully or trying to. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it stays open.
And Nick, our audience is international, so where will you be playing soon?
I will be playing in Peel Fresco Lounge on Peel Street in our Soho. Don't get confused with London Soho or New York Soho. There's a Soho in Hong Kong. And
I remember the movie The Hunchback of Soho. Old classic.
Hey, somebody just wrote, and there's an empty bottle of Jack Daniels on the back of the shelf. I got it at the Jack Daniels.
It's so telling, my friend. So telling.
This was like a special barrel for my brother that passed away, so I kept the I got your name on it and stuff. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. We have tomorrow night on Kimono My House, the BLT. On Thursday night, we have One Hit Wonderful. Jonathan, who's going to be on that show?
We are going to be having Lily May on the show. She is a rising star from Las Vegas, only 13 years old, and she is already just soaring sky high with piano, and she's starting to get into guitar and the like that. And it's going to be a good go of it Thursday night.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for coming to us internationally. I know it was easy for you, Dean, but it was great to see you again. Nick, I'm so glad that we had such a fun show talking about funerals.
Keep them guessing, baby. Keep them guessing.
Well, and Brexit, which is Britain's funeral.
And Brexit. You never know where you're going to go on this show. Right? What can I say? Have a great day or a great night wherever you are.
Take it easy, man.
We'll have you on again soon for sure.
Thanks.